Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be continuing our Panama run. Last episode, we did have a little bit of come up, both in terms of population and also in terms of GDP. And by little come up, I mean quite the come up. And we started to get treaty ports in a couple of areas. We have a treaty port in Japan. It's a little bit hard to see, except for that's where the rebellion is brewing. And so we have access to the treaty port there. And we did get a treaty port on Egypt. We're looking to get more of these as time goes on. But also critically, we did found our power block. Now, no one's in it yet, and this is going to be what we're focused on this episode, is expanding the power block out more, trying to find ways to get people into it. It's generally hard to get people to join when the cohesion's low, and generally the way you go about it is conquering people or subjugating people, but we are doing zero military run here, and so we are not going to have that option available to us. Also, another thing we've been following is this GDP ownership percentage figure. This is a percentage of ownership we own abroad relative to our own GDP. We're trying to run the number up. At the start of the last episode, it might have been the highest we're ever going to have it at 53,000%. And the reason why is our GDP was quite low. Now, we thought there was a bug, and I was mistaken here, and this was my bad. Looking at this tooltip, I was thinking, hey, this is way less than 3 billion. Where's all our GDP coming from? Well, this is per week, and I can't read. So this is going to be an annualized figure in terms of GDP, and we can see that a lot of our GDP is now coming from services. And the only way we could really decrease services is by actively pulling as many pops out of the services as possible, which of course will make all of our pops very upset because, you know, they demand services, and services are really expensive. In fact, they're at plus 75%, because the reason why they're at plus 75% here is because we basically only have ownership other than the people working in the services, but we want to return it to just ownership as best we can. We might end up closing the borders, but yeah, this is why the 100,000 ownership percentage pops is one of the big drivers of why we have such expensive services, but this is basically our only economic activity, and we're going to look to try and shut it down just by spamming trade centers, because while the trade centers make money, they don't have GDP. So if we can get everyone onto trade centers, we'll be in better shape. But our pops will just have to consume fake services at plus 75%. They're at plus 75% anyways. I suppose one thing we could do is we could turn down the PMs as well, but that just feels sacrilegious, and so I don't know if I could bear or bring myself to do that. We also make a pretty big adjustment in technology. We need reinforced concrete in order to unlock our ability to get a skyscraper, and skyscrapers, since they give us a 25% either trade advantage or capacity, are now like a very good building, so we're switching to that. But also, we really do value the throughput on the construction sector, considering we are gated by the number of slots we can put our construction sectors in. After that, we will be going for some navy to increase our prestige and power projection, these types of things. But I don't really think that there's prod tech in here that really comes to mind as something we would be interested in. I guess we have to take a look at if the trade centers have economies of scale. I don't think that they do. If they did, then economies of scale on shift work would be reasonable, but they don't. And so we are left kind of in a situation where it's just and this has been for the entire run, it's really just a society tech kind of all the way. And so I guess we will just continue to go into the economic oriented society tech, as the only thing that we do is economic in nature, or we're just ecoing and trying to do diplo. Also, almost everyone has a ton of resistance against us in terms of generating leverage as a result of our cohesion being incredibly low, so we're turning our attention more towards the people adjacent to us, because if I'm not mistaken, we do get an advantage for generating the weight of the thing onto them, the leverage, and so this is going to be good. We got, in terms of a treaty, we got New Granada in for investment rights, for no investment on our end, and so we are going to start generating more leverage because we're adjacent to them, and because we're going to start owning a larger and larger share of their economy. Already 10% of their economy is owned by other countries, and if we take a look, that is going to be us owning 7 of their buildings, so moving in the right direction here. We do, with our company, develop a stylish furniture, so now we have a prestige good on the furniture. Of course, we're not producing it, other people are producing it, but that's going to work pretty well for us. I guess there's something we should point out in terms of generating these treaties, is we would love to do, take on, get and acquire a power block embassy, but basically everyone has -200 as a result of the cohesion. So we could generate a lot of ability to pull them in if we could overcome this, and so cohesion is really the issue here. But we're running tons and tons of shortages, and this is a big driver of the cohesion, but also no one in our block is economically dependent on us, which is a little bit awkward because no one else is in our block. I mean, we're dependent on ourselves. Surely this should be higher, but this would be way easier if we just started with one subject, because they would be very economically dependent on us. But I think that once we break through the first one, things will get quite a bit easier, and so I think that we're going to focus on New Granada as best we can and start building quite a bit in them as well. In order to not run shortages, we are trying to push the trade centers up really high, but I think what we're going to do is we're also going to just subvention slightly the imports of all of these things to try and get just at least a first route to get going. But then also, you can see that a lot of the trade that is occurring here is, it's a ton of imports, because obviously we don't make any goods because we just don't have an economy. We're exporting. We're arbitraging now, actually, baby. We are importing. We are importing from somewhere. Somewhere we're getting dyes into our market. And then we're exporting them. Fantastic. This must be from one of our treaty ports, but the idea is, we have now, collapsed the price of this. We really don't need to subvention it into oblivion anymore, and so we're going to pull back our subventions that we put in a couple episodes ago, so that we wouldn't starve to death, and so, like you can see here, this is unnecessary, and is going to make our trade center less money, so our subsidy is going to increase on this, but that's fine enough, because we're expecting to resolve some of these shortages, and then as these shortages get resolved, we should be in better shape in regards to I think we'll keep that just slightly subventioned, but our shortages will put us in good shape, because now we're not running a shortage of fertilizer, right? And so as we get more and more of these, we will resolve the fact that we are having shortages in our trade league, and hopefully be able to push up our cohesion. You can see the new target is 5. We need to push up to the next level, ideally up to 20. I'm not sure how doable that will be, but that'll help us out a lot in terms of being able to pull in our first victim, trade partner. After many attempts, we do manage to secure for ourselves a treaty port in China. We have it up here. Hopefully Russia doesn't take the other side of it, but we will produce our first trade center here so that it kind of registers what's going on. But this will be our treaty port. No gold appeared here. That seems fine enough. It's just a regular old treaty port. We are getting some mass migrations, some Russian people coming to Panama. But this is going to be quite nice once we get this in, and we will see that it is trying to import fruit here to China just straight away, but this is going to be an excellent sink for us as time goes on. We are also just checking in terms of the GDP ownership percentage. We are at 11%. We do want to pump these numbers up, so we do have some construction in the queue, but if we take a look at the power block, we're not exactly trending towards a good number. We need to hit 200. We're trending to just -143, but we are coming up with the cohesion a little bit, running occasional shortages, and then trying to bop them through a combination of tariffs and subventions. Mainly subventions, but we're also tariffing the export of goods, because we don't want to end up arbitraging goods into us running a shortage. So if we notice we're exporting something that we're importing, we will put in an export tariff there as well. So I was suffering under the misapprehension that we had already gotten investment rights agreements with both Prussia and Austria, and the reason why is because we were mixing up 2 runs, but we had not yet gotten these, and now we have these. So that should be quite a bit of investment pool unlocked. As things stand, in terms of our reinvestment, we are getting 500k in reinvestment, or 600k rather. We have a huge multiplier because our GDP is low, and then most of this, or a big chunk of this, is coming from the regional company headquarters, where we are building a bunch of stuff in overseas. As you can see, we have regional HQs in quite a few places at this point, the big ones being France, England, and China, but we are adding to the mix Prussia and Austria. Kind of the last one we have to really collect is Russia, and Russia has just been, just generally seems to be difficult to get investment rights in, just as things stand. They seem a little bit, yeah, they just don't want to give it up, and so that's fair enough. We have, in like multiple runs, not been able to get it. Currently, we don't have enough Diplo, but we're going to be kind of keeping an eye on this if we can get it done, but I think that that's going to be a little bit of a difficult prospect. This is basically the apocalypse. We are getting a flood in Panama with a very strong intensity, and it's going to be very painful because this is the entirety of our country, basically. Alright, it's coming along. We got an agreement between us and New Granada. Not this agreement, but instead this other agreement here, where we are giving them military assistance. This increases the cost of our military goods, which we don't care about because we don't pay that much. We are transferring them some money. We're doing a little bit of goods transfer. They're doing a little bit of goods transfer, and we have a defensive pact with them. This is going to give us a power block embassy, which is going to improve relations and is going to give plus 300 leverage. So, in terms of where our leverage is at now, we are currently at minus 138. With the 300, we will be just 38 away from enough to invite them to our power block. So, things are coming along, especially if we can keep this cohesion up and keep bopping these shortages as we look to add some more buildings inside their economy. We are queuing up 5 levels of these coal, because the coal is actually using a decent PM, but not the iron. The iron, they're still digging with their hands over here. Alright, so we have with Costa Rica another power block embassy, so we are in very good shape, already in the positive, already at plus 40, ticking up a 5 a tick. We are trending towards, it looks like 540 if I understand this tooltip correctly, so it will be just a short amount of time before we get to 200 leverage here, and we can invite in our first additional member in Costa Rica, the adjacency helping us out a little bit here. And then once Costa Rica comes in, I think the dominoes might start falling, and we might be able to start pulling a lot more people into our region, and which is going to be great because we could use some more influence. We don't have that much influence right now, and if we go external trade too, in terms of what we will get is we will get the influential trade center, which will give us a little bit more influence per level, 0.5. I think we have around 120, 130 trade centers, so this is going to be a decent chunk of influence. It's also going to give us a little bit more trade capacity as well, and also it will give us more cohesion when we pick our primary principal group. I think it's plus 10, which is very important for bringing us up over this 20 threshold, so we can finally start generating mandate a little bit faster than this. We do get our investment rights with Russia, so we should be buying their buildings already here. We can take a look at, hey, we do have a company that does do the woodsies, and we can see where we have regional HQs. Don't want to have one in Russia yet. What about our kind of biggest company here, which is the Panama Metalworks? We've had this Russia one for a little bit. Doesn't look like we've quite gotten it, but look at all the different countries we have regional HQs in, including, Bohemia. Look at all this. This was paid for by their nation. Just an absolutely insane amount. We didn't really do the calculation, but, 1,600% times 7.8 million is quite a bit. So I think that we're well over 100 million now with that, but, never do math when recording a video. But now we have investment rights basically with everyone. We have Russia, Great Qing, Egypt. I think we have the Ottomans, Austria, North German Fed, France, Great Britain. I guess we don't have USA. And that's kind of the few that we don't have. We just have basically everyone else, though. That's kind of big. We do have this investment rights agreement on all of these guys. So I guess maybe the USA is next, but I think that, well, historically we've had a difficult time getting it on USA, but this looks like it's actually not that hard. We just have to free up some Diplo to make this happen, because the trade privileges are getting expensive, and everything's getting expensive on the Diplo. We could declare a rival, but we are running out of people to rival as well here, so that is a little bit awkward. we're out of basically the useful and easy rivals. So what we'll probably have to do is we will have to build more navy, which I think we still have navy recruiting up as the issue, because they take forever to recruit. Oh, no, we don't. So we'll build more navy in Panama here, and once the game stops lagging. So we are trying to negotiate our treaty where we are getting a power block embassy instead to just be join power block here. I think we've squeezed as much as we can out of here, but kind of funnily enough, the goods transfer should be worth nothing. Ooh, we could cancel this one though. Oh, perfect, they accept this. And then we could lower this down quite a lot. The idea being, you know, once they join in, it's kind of irrelevant that we're transferring them goods, because they will be in the same market as us, so we won't actually be transferring them any goods. So we will do this, and we will get our first member, because they will accept, and they have entered into Mr. Worldwide's worldwide nation of trade. This is going to allow us, because they are economically dependent on us by quite a bit, is going to increase the cohesion up to 39. And the dominoes are going to start falling, because with 39 cohesion, we're going to be able to start pulling in other people and generating significant leverage onto other people. And so this is going to be really nice for us. So we finished our skyscraper here, and we have the choice between 2 PMs, bureaucratic nexus, government administration building throughput only locally, or we can go for trade capacity and trade advantage. I wonder which one we'll pick. I don't know if this is actually local or if this is government-wide, but considering we're a single state, it really doesn't matter. So we will go for that, and we will get a more trade capacity. Incidentally, or coming in and taking a look at things, our balance is not all that great, considering the subsidy we're paying to keep this going. It is pretty substantive, and we're paying a lot of subventions. But if we take a look at this point, our import price relative to the local price, it's very, very close indeed for all of these. And our import price is going to be a better version of the world market price in most cases, because we have advantage almost everywhere. So we kind of have the best prices in the world on almost everything. You take a look at how much trade advantage we have on all these things. So that means we're going to have better than world market prices on almost all of these things, considering how close they are getting to world price. So let's take a look at maybe one specifically. So taking a look at dyes here, we are importing dyes. We have 244% advantage here. And so locally, we have a price of 32, and then the import price we are paying is 25. And so this is informing the margin, where the difference between these two informs this. Let's take a look at the world market price. The world market price is 41. So we are importing it below, well below world market price. And so our overall price is going to be much better. So in terms of, you know, how it would benefit other countries, it would actually be quite nice for them to be joining our country for the purposes of you know, getting much better prices on everything. You can see we have trade privileges, treaty ports driving this, and then we also have trade capacity driving our trade capacity is a huge factor, actually, in terms of what's going on here, because we have so much trade capacity specifically in Panama. Wow, that's really, really, at this point, allowing us to outperform everyone in terms of the trade prices and get like these absolutely kind of insane situations where we basically, like, the world market's here in Panama is what we're trying to say. You know, I think this is the skyscraper event here, though, and we are touching the sky. Reach for the sky. Incidentally, how close are we to being a GP? Not that close, but not that far either, just 250-ish off. We are in a position where we can't really depress our GDP, or I think that it's going to stymie kind of other things that we want to do, because the GDP is one of the things that informs cohesion. So at this point, we might stop trying to intentionally push down our GDP, because leaders' share of the GDP is going to be a driver of our ability to have cohesion so that we can invite more people. So we pull in another one in Nicaragua here, which is going to join the power block, stretching just a little bit further. So now we have 3 nations. I think that's going to negatively affect our cohesion. Yeah, ooh. Really kind of kicks our cohesion down quite a bit, because I think that they are less... Oh, is it because we have a shortage, or is it because that they are less economically dependent on us? And we did give up our ability to invest in them. our investment rights. So we're just going to keep on spamming them for free investment rights, but we reworked our investment rights treaty in order to get that done. But we're just going to send that out to them. I think it's because we're sharing a primary culture where we're all Central American, where we're able to get these guys in maybe a little bit better. I do think it does make a difference in terms of acceptance. So we weren't going to go total separation because we wanted the extra authority for companies, but I think we have to go total separation because this is going to make it easier to pull people into our block, or at the very least, the kind of more important one is probably going to multiculturalism. We have a 1% pass chance, so we could just YOLO it. I think I kind of like this idea. We can also just take a brief look and see if we have anyone who would maybe be able to help with this. We could, of course, do the treaty thing in order to get it, but we'll try and do it without the treaty thing. This guy, for example, would be able to help us. He would start a movement, but we could promote him to government. The anarchist guys are kind of annoying in the long term, but he is one of the classic early appearing anarchists, but it doesn't look like we have anyone else that we could maybe turn to. What we really want is someone to replace someone. We want an anarchist that is rural folk, because currently the big opposer of us is the rural folk with this guy. And so if we were to replace him with an anarchist, this would be preferable. I think what we're going to do, because of all this, is we're going to go total separation first, and then this will give us a bigger agitator pool, and then we can take a little bit of a look at it after. So we haven't really done this in a while in terms of gameplay patterns, but we are going to abdicate in order to force through multiculturalism. That's what this Japanese national movement wants, and if we abdicate to the revolution, that's what we will get. So we'll slot out the people who we like first, and then we'll slot in maybe the people we don't like so much. Oh, these guys have to be in the Social Democratic Party? These guys have to be in the Liberal Party. I guess we'll just put the Catholic Church in, and then we will resign from office with this gentleman. We'll get hands thrown up in the air, and we will choose to enact multiculturalism here. And we will have an election, and the Catholic Church will get domed with a negative clout, and so they will collapse, and then we will slot in something relatively legitimate, like this, and continue to try and pass our total separation here. The church is weaker, and more importantly, we get onto multiculturalism. This is going to be an important one because in order to pull people in the power block, they do care how you accept their primary culture, and so we're just pushing this through faster because we are trying to get at least kind of something reasonable done here in terms of getting more people into our block. And so people like Egypt, once we go total separation, are going to be much easier to pull into the block overall. Currently we're at minus 114 with them. With New Granada we're 137, so coming along quite nicely with New Granada. I do think we will be able to pull them in, especially if we can manage to increase our cohesion here. So we are improving relations with, I think, one of these guys or both of these guys, the ones that don't like us very much, to try and push that up quite a bit. So this should help things out. We're also going to actually try and push our GDP up now at this point, I think, because this is one of the factors that is keeping it so that we can't pull as many people in. So to that end, we're starting to add some furniture. I think that this is going to be reasonably good, especially because we have a prestige good, so we could start trying to subvent the prestige good in particular of just the regular stylish furniture. It's not regular, it's stylish. And by subventioning this, we can push up the price, which pushes up our GDP, which is maybe an argument for us to kind of change our trade strategy, specifically so that we will be not importing stuff like luxury furniture, because as we import this, we technically push down our GDP, because the furniture manufacturers aren't going to quite have as expensive prices, and so they won't be able to sell as high, and if they can't sell as high, this pushes down our GDP. Alright, so something we are getting increasingly crimped on is all of the treaties we have crimping our Diplo. Because we are trying to push multiple kind of interactions or multiple things at once with different parties, so that we can, pull them into our block, do this type of thing. And so we are trying to rake back a lot of these, or a lot of Diplo from a lot of these, but also we have to look at opportunities for pushing up leverage that do not involve Diplo. So for example here, With Egypt, if we take a look at where the leverage is coming from in terms of what we're getting on Egypt, we see that trade privileges give quite a bit of leverage here. And we also see primary culture low acceptance. This is why we are going, or why we went multiculturalism. I don't know why exactly we have this malice still, but it would have been bigger. But coming into New Granada, if we take a look at some of the treaties we could do, we could grant them trade privileges. This results in maintenance for New Granada, and it will increase our leverage. So we are more than happy to give them trade privileges, and we might maybe try and get something out of them. But if we are getting something out of them, the unfortunate thing for us is that we have to get stuff out of them that does not involve our diplo maintenance. So something like coffee, this is diplo maintenance for New Granada as well. So we're going to look around for something that's maybe useful so that we could give them trade privileges. And by doing this, we can get closer and closer to getting them in the block. Currently, we have 141, in terms of the leverage that we are generating. So, with Costa Rica already in the block, it does look like we can renegotiate the treaty with which we used to pull them into the block to something that is maybe a little bit more favorable to us, which will rake back for us quite a bit of diplo. So this is going to be fantastic. So we are also going to be trying to use treaties to get guys to pass law commitments. Now this is going to cost us 25 diplo, so we can't just spam this everywhere. But the main idea here is something like rights of assembly relative to censorship is going to generate 25% less leverage resistance. And so this is going to be good if we can get this passed on various people. The same with stuff like laissez-faire, I believe also generates less resistance. And so we will go for that. We are trying to get Japan into the block as well. I think that them being unrecognized does help us out a little bit, and so we would love to get law commitments. Looks like they're already on rights of assembly, but just taking a look on laissez-faire, I do believe it does give less, it doesn't. Free trade does? I think free trade gives less leverage generation. So we can push some laws that will help with the leverage generation in order that we can try and generate more leverage on some of these guys as well. So we made a little bit of a mistake here, and it is quite painful. We were building dye plantations because they were making a lot of money in Nicaragua here, with the idea that we would be getting more and more economic leverage over them. However, because they have a company, and I suppose they gave their company monopoly, they can override and buy the levels at which we had built there. So now we've just built up their economy, and now we're having a difficult time maintaining cohesion because power block member with the lowest economic dependence on the power block leader is Nicaragua, and it's because they're producing so much of these dyes, which is a little bit unfortunate. Now what we could do to do this, or to try and affect this, is we could take a look. Maybe we're exporting dyes, or let's take a look at Nicaragua, and maybe Nicaragua is exporting dyes, right? But maybe they don't have a trade center. I do not see a trade center for Nicaragua, so they're not exporting dyes. If anyone is exporting dyes, it's us. So let's take a look at the Panama trade center and see if we are exporting any dyes. And what we could do is, if we are exporting dyes, which sure as hell we are, oh, we've agreed not to subvention or tariff the dyes. That's unfortunate. I was going to say we can just put in a massive export tariff to collapse the price of dyes so that Nicaragua does not have as much economic activity as a result of the dyes, but we can't do that. So we're going to have to try and track down with whom we have this no tariff agreement on dyes, and then get rid of such agreement so that we can do this. Alright, so we got rid of our inability to tariff, and so let's just take a look here. We are at 1.8 in terms of the relative dependence on us, and they are relatively independent. They're a strong, independent nation that don't need no block leader, but we're going to put our boot on them, and we are going to set a massive tariff for export. This is going to generate us revenue, but more importantly, what it's going to do is it's going to absolutely crush the profitability of these dye plantations. Currently, their output is 16.3k, and I believe it's probably GDP and percentage of GDP that these guys own that is the driver of the economic dependence. So as we collapse these sell orders, what's going to happen is this price is going to collapse, which is going to collapse or as we collapse the buy orders by getting rid of lot of these trades, that's going to collapse the profitability. You see the profitability come down here. And then if we take a look at the cohesion here, and look, we're now entangled with 2.4. So we are solving the issue by destroying our block members' economy and forcing them to instead, send more profits or send more employees to other stuff, which we might own, like this furniture manufacturing. And by doing this, we can get greater and greater economic dependence on them. So let's take a look. As the prices continue to fall, we're up to 2.5. This is going to be much better for us. Our cohesion trajectory is now heading towards 22. And so this is getting better and better. And I think that the price is probably still collapsing as these start to buy or sell down. If we take a look, this is now down to just 10K, and even continuing to collapse. The price of dyes is just going down, 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 and this is going to be excellent for us. They might build a trade center if they're smart, but I don't think they're smart, and so this is going to mean that more stuff that we own is going to be employed and making money in their economy, and by doing this, we are going to increase their dependence on us. So we are up to, wait, what's this? It's down to 1.3. What gives here? It was up to 2.5. Well, I think that this will probably level out and be good for us, but I guess we'll see. Well, I guess Nicaragua had enough of our abuse. They left our power block. Which, it's going to be good for our cohesion, so it's maybe not all that bad, but they left our power block. So we are going to get up on the cohesion, and we are still working on other neighbors. We're working on New Granada right now. I suppose we could maybe try and invite Los Altos, but they actually have a negative lobby against us, so we're going to be funding the lobbies here, and we could try and see just how close Los Altos is to getting in here, because I think the big one here for us is going to be the fact that these guys are adjacent to Mexico, and so maybe we can get Mexico in if we are able to get these guys in at a reasonable rate. So Chile has been warming up to us, and we haven't even been focusing on Chile. We've been focusing on Mexico. But taking a look here, a little bit of an interesting thing. They're minus 52 if we try and do it through this interface here in order to get them into the block. But here, they're relatively, amenable to this sort of thing. So we're just going to invite them. 75% chance. Everyone knows you slam dunk that. No need to give them an obligation, even though that's not a substantive cost to us. And so we will look to get Chile in. They do accept the invitation, and I'm assuming that this tanks our cohesion. Wow, that really tanks our cohesion. Yikes. I'm not entirely sure how we resolve this issue of our cohesion tanking. I mean, it would be very easy to just take a little bit of territory and then suddenly everything's just way, way easier. But they have, Los Altos has a low economic dependence on us, extremely low, so I guess we build more in them, and then, Chile has the least economic dependence. They're just a little entangled. So I guess we'll build up in Chile. Los Altos has the worst relations with us. Okay, we had swapped to improving relations with Los Altos, with Chile. I guess we'll swap to doing it with Los Altos. We are getting ticking positive relations, I believe, from some sources. But we'll just look to improve relations because it's really just the investment rights, and so this will be much faster. And then we'll look to add a bunch of stuff in the queue to Chile to buy up, in Chile's territory. But specifically, we're going to take a look here. And we're going to make sure that, they have no companies. We're going to make sure that nothing that we add is something that they could create a company out of. Although I think once we get level 5 anything anywhere, they might be able to yoink that and make a company out of it, which is not ideal for us. So one of the issues we're having in terms of developing our cohesion is being a leading goods producer is normally how you could just get an absolute ton of cohesion in the trade league, and normally this is the easiest one to get this from. But as we've said, 15 times now, we have no economy. We don't actually make anything. And so even though we're doing some of the highest volume of trade in the world, which feels like it should be the metric by which we develop cohesion, it doesn't matter because we actually have to produce stuff. So to that end, I think we're going to actively try and pursue two things that as trying to be lead producers of. The first is going to be fine arts. Oop, that's too many. That's not what we wanted. But we wanted to just put at the front of the queue a couple of these, and then we're going to subsidize these, and we're going to eat the massive cost of subsidizing these. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to start subventioning this basic, or actually, let's start subventioning for export the luxury goods and also the basic goods here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start pushing furniture manufacturers. Currently we have no exports, and so we're going to try and push economies of scale, try and push up the levels, and try and actually achieve exports in these spheres. We're all 100% imports because obviously we don't build anything, and so we're going to look to turn that around, especially because our pops are creeping up, and our GDP is creeping up too, and I think that we need to turn this sort of corner to actually do this trade block stuff. We were trying to do it while being extremely small because it's funnier, but I think that there's just like no way around it now. So we're going to push the economies of scale up to 30 here. We currently have a 79% throughput. This will get juiced up by another 21, and so this will be 100% throughput, and then hopefully we can start churning and really getting a lot of pops in here and be a lead producer of both luxury furniture and stylish furniture, very stylish, and then also look to be a lead producer of arts academies, because this is kind of the freebie in terms of the number of pops required, and that is one of our major throttles. It'll just cost us money, but we have plenty of that, so we don't really care. Little bit of a GDP update. We're at 15 million GDP, and if you take our currently owned GDP of our own and add it to foreign overseas GDP ownership, we just passed 250 million total ownership that is going on. Now, as things stand, we're a little bit a ways from getting, control of number one producer. North Germany turns out they're producing quite a bit of fine art, so we do have some catching up to do. I think we're going to need a level 12 or 13 Arts Academy to do it, but it looks like it's pretty open as far as it relates to the production of luxury furniture worldwide, because if we take a look, we're the number 5 producer. And I think we can slip past the USA without too much trouble, because we only have a level 11 building right now. So we're tripling what we have, and so we should even be able to slip into second place, although I don't know about passing Great Britain. That would be a tough ask without significantly more pops. Incidentally, we are getting significantly more pops, and the throttle for our incoming pops is actually going to be infrastructure. Outgoing pops from where they're coming from the mass migration, is going to have to deal with percentage of the total pops, but we are going to be throttled by infrastructure, which is one of the reasons why we have overexpanded infrastructure past where we need it, just so that when we get migration, it will be in much higher numbers. And you can see here, we're getting some weekly migration, we're getting some pop growth, we're probably going to hit another mass migration soon, and overall, we're not taking any states. This is our growth with taking 0 things, so really, really popping off on the pop, purely from the migration, though. So we should have pushed for this type of thing way long ago, but we have become the number 1 producer of this fine art, and also we are subventioning it at a relatively high level. We maybe even want to go higher just to discourage other people from building it, so that we can stay on top of this here. That way, of course, we will now generate more cohesion. As you can see here, plus 15 from being a leading goods producer, and that's the only thing we're leading goods producer in, and so that's going to be quite a nice thing. In fact, I don't even think this math is updated quite yet. I think that we are going to be seeing a bigger figure for ourselves once the Monday comes through in terms of what we're trending towards. Just kidding, it got smaller, but we are also going to push, in particular, weekly mandate progress leverage. Okay, we are going to push for the luxury furniture as well here, because I do think that we can make an ingress and at least hit number 4 in luxury furniture here. If we take a look currently, we're number 2. Okay, perfect. I don't think we're passing up Great Britain. Incidentally, India got free, which is kind of interesting. But okay, I think we're kind of stuck in here, and I think now we're settling in to some extent, because I don't think there's another good that we can really specifically try and push, like tools. We're not even a significant producer of tools. The next thing that's coming up is we are kind of pivoting, and we're going to research automobiles, and we're going to try and become leading producer in automotive industries as well, because I think this is going to be much more open for us, and then look to export these. And also, at the very end, at compression ignition, the PM for the mass production in the automotive industries is actually really efficient per worker, and we don't really have many workers, so this will be a nice industry for us to dump money into anyways. Alright, so we haven't talked about the Panama Canal, or sorry, the Suez Canal rather, for quite some time, because we have been waiting for it to get over 50% employment for forever, but it finally has it over. We put down some more trade centers in the capital, which is what we need in order to put this in, and we are going to slot this in. Hopefully, this is enough to get the prosperity bonus. We aren't going to do any bells and whistles onto this. We already have industry rights on shipyards, and we don't have the authority anyways, although we could scrounge around to try and find it. But what we really want here is the trade advantage, but the 50k tax income, that'll be nice, I guess. I don't really think we kind of care too much about money at this point, but I suppose that what we could do is we could lower our tax rate, which will raise SOL. The higher SOL will raise prices and allow us to do more profitable trades, which will allow us to push trade centers. Something like this. We're already maxing government wages and military wages in order to try and get as much migration as possible, but this should be alright. Also, this is the first time I think that the dividends tax we just way outperform now that we're on graduated taxation relative to proportional. Usually proportional's a little bit better, but it's like commensurate. But here we're just making way more from graduated. You can see the change in revenue predicted, 63k out of what we're getting in taxes is like a little over 300k. So this represents, you know, a 20% decrease. And this is because all we have really is ownership pops. Holding on steady kind of in the 30s for this, trying to make sure that we maintain the lead goods, but what we're building now is a bunch of universities so that we can try and push through for several different goods faster to become the leading goods person in each of automobiles, phones, and radios if we can. And if we could do this, we should be in pretty good shape to be able to get our cohesion up to 40, and then we'll get rid of some of the malice here on the leverage generation and the mandate progress. Maybe we could get another mandate, and once we get another mandate, we will be able to go external trade 2, which will give us more diplo, but also plus 10 on the cohesion, and so it'll make maintaining the cohesion higher much easier. So we can now invite New Granada to the power block. This is unfortunately really going to brick our cohesion, or at least I think that it's like kind of complicated to evaluate because it says that they're independent 0.08, but I think that once they're using a bunch of our goods and this type of stuff, they become more independent, and this is not necessarily a good reflection of how dependent they are. They own a similar amount of their GDP to Chile, which is quite dependent, and we are generating quite a lot of leverage over it. You can see Chile, we do have a reliant 3.2, and so I think we're going to invite them and then just suffer the consequences of if our block gets super messed up. This is kind of fine. We're going to do it through the interaction because I think that this works a little bit better for us. We're going to invite them. It says it's minus 20. We hope that it's not actually minus 20. Currently we're at 28 and we are trending towards 28, so let's put that in, see what happens. Down to minus 6. Why do they hate it? Lowest economic dependence, minus 35. So this is kind of expected, but what we were kind of a little bit more curious about is this economic dependence on us that they currently have, is this going to change? As you know, yeah, so it's already up by 0.3, and if this changes a little bit more, this will maybe be good for us. We see that it's not changing more, so we maybe have to build up in New Granada in order to increase their dependence, but we are starting to get chunks, you know, of South America here, carving out our regional sphere to some extent. We will just have to try and figure out a way to rake back this control, but you can see it's up a little bit, so I think that maybe this is just an adjustment thing, and after a few weeks, maybe they are more reliant than they appeared to be before. I think this is the first time I've ever been incredibly grateful for this event. Art Nouveau will make our pops obsessed with fine arts, which works for us because they consume more of the fine arts. We will not have to shell out quite as much on this, 50k here subsidy. The price of this should go up. We are currently max subventioning it for export. It's not currently getting exported, but this pushing up the price, and also us just getting a nice little timed modifier of 20% throughput, because this is of course going to go away at some point, is going to allow us to not have to pay quite so much. It might update on the Monday, it might not. It might be one of those things where I can't remember if we have to desubsidy and resubsidy in order to shake things up a bit here, but it's not the end of the world either, because we have like unlimited money. Money's not the issue. We can get people to take on our debt. It is fundamentally inconsequential. I think that we're going to add a couple trade centers here. The Panama Canal Company is struggling, or sorry, the Suez Canal Company is struggling a little bit to get to a high enough level here, which is a little unfortunate. There's probably some strategy in regards to the companies on the canals, where you want to give one maybe investment rights and the other industry rights or something like this. We could give monopoly rights on something, or we could temporarily give investment rights. And I'm thinking temporarily giving investment rights might be the way to go. So we just would need to rake back a couple of these, like promote social mobility in Panama and encourage manufacturing. Encourage manufacturing would be so painful to pull back. We're already losing the maximum, or utilizing the maximum authority. We can't get any more, but we do have, if we can get corporate state passed, we will get an additional free charter plus 100 authority, so effectively this will get us 200 authority, so then maybe we can make the Suez Canal Company a little bit profitable. Don't mind Korea, just doing Korea things. So I'm left a little bemused. They don't have a new company in here in New Granada, but they have somehow really lowered their economic dependence on us. And so we were hovering around 26 and not having too big of difficulties, but now we're getting minus 18 because they are not very dependent on our economy. We only own 15% of our GDP, and I guess maybe it's the difference in GDP between us that we have to try and push. We didn't drop our GDP. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I don't know if we're somehow getting counted against ourselves by having these regional HQs for the Panama Canal Company and the Panama Metal Works now having regional HQs here. I think they didn't before, but it was the creation of enough tooling workshops, which we were pushing specifically, that maybe allowed this. And so maybe maybe it counts against you when the ownership is like that. I don't really know, but we are in a little bit of rough shape in that regard. As far as the power block goes, we were generating a lot of leverage towards Argentina, so we're trying to get them in, and we have a bunch of agreements with Venezuela, Ecuador, and Peru, Bolivia, so we should be coming up, at least some degree, trying to get something that looks nice on the map for our power block. So we establish what is going to be our second to last company, just generic motor industries. We are going to give them investment rights. We are not going to give them industry rights, though, because that's just on steel. We already have it on steel, and of course we have very little authority to work with, but now these guys will be able to start buying overseas a bit of motor industries. We haven't researched yet the ability to go for cars, and the reason why is that we were going to be ahead of time on several techs, and this is going to end up costing us quite a lot of additional research. And so what we've done instead is we are researching until we're almost complete here, and when we research the previous tech, or tech from tier 3, this is going to decrease the cost of this tech by 3,700. So the cost of this tech, we only have to get stuff to 1,900. Ooh, we actually overshot it. So instead of finishing these telephone tech, we're going to go for a threshing machine, and then we're going to go combustion engine and telephone, and it'll just be 1 week for each of these, because what we're doing is we're decreasing the cost by like 2,000 and 3,000 for each of these techs by researching the one from the previous sphere, which is currently NAT spreading. And then after that, I think we're going to go for electrical capacitors actually, let's just go radio after that. I think that's good. I think the thing that's really throttling us right now is the cohesion, and the easy way out of that is becoming the leading goods producer. Normally with this power block, you just are perma 100 cohesion, but normally you're the leading goods producer in everything, and you have more than zero economy for yourself. Also, we are going for censorship, not because we like censorship, but because the additional authority is going to be useful for our very, very final company that we will be slotting in, being able to give it rights to invest in other stuff. We're not going to be able to invest in all these, but it's just going to be a generic phone slash electrical company. Somewhere in here, there is the generic phone company, and that's what we will be putting in once we research telephones. And so that will be our final company, and will incidentally really help us to push being the goods leader on that as well. So we hit being a GP, and unfortunately that undoes all of our rivalries, which is going to cause us to trim down to major power anyways, if we wanted to go back, because the minus prestige from this. I'm not entirely sure exactly how we want to handle this. To be fair, if we float additional influence, it does give us leverage generation. We could refund a bunch of this to just try and stay as a GP. It does give us a bit more migration attraction, and that's nice. I think what we're going to do is we're going to rival up Great Britain and India. I don't know if we want to really rumble with the USA, and we do have a 50 stack, so I think we can kind of defend our island, or we have a 50 stack and a 20 stack in Panama, just raw troops. So I think we kind of can defend our singular area, but the real problem is that the British ships blockading us. There's nothing we can do about this. We really can't afford to fight these guys, which is kind of makes me inclined to not use this, or to just decay down to major power, this type of thing. But I think it does help with the mandate generation a bit when we are a GP. We see that we are at plus 19 now, and I'm not sure where the modifier is exactly, but oh yeah, because we're not getting the minus 50% down there from being small or being a minor power block. And so I think we're going to try and make this work, and we're just going to hope that Great Britain doesn't beat us up, and we're going to rival Great Britain and India in order to not be in a deficit. And then we're going to cry really, really hard when they attack us, and there's nothing we can do about it. To that end, I think we're going to add a couple more capital ships and a couple more torpedo boats here. That way we feel safer, but in reality we won't be any safer. There's no escaping Great Britain. We can't build enough ships. We don't have enough treaty ports. Even if we built 30 and 40 ships in every treaty port, I think we still lose. So that'll be a little bit rough. We could try and float more of this just for leverage generation, which is not something I'd really considered. And that could maybe work. We are generating a decent chunk of leverage. We have 131 here. We're starting to get close to positive numbers in some of these other ones. We do have cooking up the funding of lobbies in all of these, and so I think we're on our way. But like the big one is, yeah, we're not minus 50% anymore. So if we become the leading producer of goods somewhere else in here, we will be over 20 again, and we will finally be able to generate enough mandate to start pushing up and pushing additional things. And once we're there, this has been a way more of a slog than I thought it would be to get this power block going, but once we're there, things should smooth out a little bit. So some other people are producing cars, but no one else is producing telephones. So we're going to take that one to the bank, and that's going to be a nice little bit of cohesion for us, a +3 here, which is going to keep us above this 20 mark, which we were fiddling up and down below, above and below. So that's going to help out, and I guess that we don't necessarily need to push these that much, but the cars we are going to both push and subsidize, because if we take a look, we're number 5 worldwide producer. It's 25 per level. These will be owned by companies, which will give us a ton of throughput eventually. We are getting plus 40% in Panama as a result of our trade unions and also the edict that we have down here, so it's going to be like around plus 100%. So roughly speaking, each of these levels is going to give us plus 50. So if we take a look here, Canada is currently in the lead with a little over 500. So what we are going to do is we're just going to do 12 total, and that should be enough. And then we're going to kick some other stuff to the back of the queue. That way we can get these through kind of quickly. We'll finish 2 naval buildings because they take forever to recruit up. But then this will be kind of the look that we give here, where we are going to mainly push these automotive industries. We put both the automobiles and also the electricity on mass or maximum subventions, because it's either us paying on the subsidy or paying on the subvention. I think it doesn't doesn't make too big a difference where we're paying, but we would like to see some exports and dumping into other people's markets, specifically if it doesn't matter, because by dumping into other people's markets, what we do is, well, we create demand for the good, and also we lower the price in other people's markets. And if we do that aggressively enough, what I think will happen is that they will be less inclined to build the thing, which will make it easier for us to maintain being the #1 world producer of the thing. But hopefully us exporting to Russia doesn't make it so Russia starts building these where previously they had no demand for it. That might also happen. And so that'll be a bit unfortunate if it does. We'll also just go up to 5. Actually, we want level 5 in this immediately so that we could slot in the company. I had not considered that. But yeah, that'll give us the company there. So we will get that squared away, and everything's kind of getting good. I think once we get all that, we should be looking at pushing like 30 kind of in the average zone. I really don't know why we're having difficulties with New Granada. Or their economic dependence on us is relatively low. I guess us just increasing our GDP is the way to go, and we're going to do that with cars and telephones here. We have a bunch of new pops coming in. As long as we don't build too many government buildings, all the incoming pops will translate pretty strongly to GDP. So if we just like up and away up to 50 million GDP, that'll be fine, which will finally get rid of our huge multiplier that we've had this entire game to the investment pool contribution. But we also have 1.6 billion in the investment pool, so none of that matters. We are buying where we have investment rights. This investment pool is buying buildings, but fundamentally we can't really expand construction. We've been throttled for a long time by the number of construction sectors we have, and occasionally we're able to add like one more in here because there's a few available workers, this type of thing. But it has been a little bit rough. I guess we can maybe take a look at trying to expand in Suez, because now the Canal company is finally slot in and here, but I don't think there's enough workers here. But basically, for the most part, we haven't been able to add any construction for some time now. We hit a bit of a weird inflection point. Japan is willing to become our subject in a play, largely as a result of all the efforts we've made towards improving relations with them and all this type of stuff, is because we want to pull them into the power block. And this is one way to pull someone into a power block. However, the principle of this run has been no wars, 0 wars. But I think that since we didn't declare this, and also since Japan didn't declare this, and also because we're not going to fight whatsoever in this, I think that this is okay. Although some people might consider this a rule break, we're going to get Japan as a protectorate here for freezies, good dealsies, except for when the UK sides against us because we rivaled them earlier, we will just cry as they beat us down. Nope, I had an anxiety attack when I saw them disappear. I assumed they were over there, but nope, they are going to be declaring neutrality, and we will be getting Japan as a subject as soon as this pips, which incidentally will put them in the power block and will help us to generate more mandate here. So this is the way we're handling it. I think that some people will regard this as technically being in a war, and maybe they're right, maybe they're not. Anyways, what we are also going to do with this is we want to give them... Or could we not give them recognition? Okay. So we get the radios in. Unfortunately, we can't like mix and match the PMs because we only have one building, or sorry, one state. So this is going to be a little bit unfortunate, but this is going to help us with the cohesion. Pushing up to 14, we are going to have Japan as the most independent, so we're going to want to build overseas in Japan, and we are specifically going to want to build stuff that they cannot yoink from us. So no clothing, no lead, no any of this, and none of this will be produced, but we will go for some other things. Looks like they gave it a lot. Monopoly rights on everything. So I think it's a monopoly rights that lets them to yoink our buildings, so we can't push either of these, but we can push rice, which will be nice. We'll lower the grain price in our sphere. Looks like it is expensive, so maybe we just actually push the furniture and take care not to push the textiles, even though they look the most profitable, because if we do Mitsui, we'll just buy them from our capitalists and we'll be left high and dry. So something I'd like to point out is the mass migration attraction. Currently, the leaderboard is 76. Now, When we aren't having a mass migration attraction, we will, just put Panama and Panama loans migration attraction in for our mass migration attraction. We have over 300 now. So we are just perma getting mass migrations, and it's just a matter of if we roll one that has a big culture group or one that has a small culture group in terms of informing just how much we are going to be getting. But we are going to be getting quite a lot of pops, and every time a mass migration goes away, a new one will come in and take its place. So if we take a look at our cohesion, basically all of it that's net positive is coming from being a leading goods producer, of which we are a lead producer in several different things now. If we take a look here, we can see what we are a lead producer of. Telephones, radios, automobiles, fine art, and luxury furniture. Luxury furniture, we are dragging our feet on a little bit because it takes way more pops to get up to producing that, and we'd rather focus on the automobiles and the furniture for now. But this is going to allow us to kind of comfortably stay over this 20 mark. We have gotten power block embassies with all these cats, so Argentina is about ready to be asked. Peru, Bolivia is in the positive. We're working on Venezuela. We're working on Mexico. But once we get more of these guys, we will start generating mandate quite a bit faster. We still haven't gotten our first one, and external trade 2 is going to be a big deal for us. Maybe we'll manage to fill it out by the end date, but it's looking like not so good on that front. But we can try and invite them to the block, and I think that what we'll do is we'll just owe them an obligation. Just kidding, we already owe them one. We'll take this 85% chance here of inviting them to the block. They say no. Oh. Well, I guess it's time to improve relations and do the things again. Alright. It's time to make Japan recognized. They were at war, so we couldn't do this before, so we're gonna just give them an embassy. And hey, the Naha Convention, it has arrived, and they have gotten a little bit of an embassy, but we'll give them an embassy again. Okay, well, we gave them an embassy. Why not another embassy? Okay, we gave them an embassy, but that's good and all, but why not send them another embassy? And every time we do this, they get plus 10 progress towards the journal entry for getting recognized. So if we do this 10 times or 20 times, they will just get recognized, and we will get a little bit more mandate generation because we benefit more when they are recognized. So, we're renegotiating, we're making moves. This is a nuanced thing. Negotiation is a difficult thing, and really, truly, every one of these deals, it's a different deal. It's an important distinction to make that new things are happening, deals are coming through, and this is how Japan gets recognized, by us just annoying them to death with saying, do you want an embassy, my friend? Do you want an embassy, my friend? My friend, would you like an embassy? Can I bother you for an embassy? Or, sorry, send you an embassy? Oh, we gotta wait for the next one. Hey, it was the same one with the same name. Oh, wait. I believe we might not be able to negotiate the treaty anymore as a result of them being recognized. They're already considering a treaty proposal. Just kidding. Is it because you're recognized, Mr. Friend? Hey, they're a minor power. Woohoo! No longer unrecognized, and now we'll contribute a bit more juice to the power block so we generate mandate faster. Alright, we're gonna invite Arj and trust that we're not gonna lose a bunch of cohesion and that minus 13 business was a lie, because it's going to say that, hey, we have a really bad, they're highly independent from us. Actually, that's not even the driver. Argentina's not even the one, but these things seem to adjust quite quickly, and we're 18 months away from getting the next thing. We're struggling to maintain control, though, of some of our lead producer spots here, in particular the arts academies, which is our kind of easiest per pop or per worker to push through. We are trying to mass export, so we decrease the incentive for other people to build it, but also someone has come in and taken telephones in terms of the spot from us. We don't have that much production of it relative to the 3x from the French Republic, so these guys are starting to come in hot. We will add another 10 or so, but I think what's happened is I would not be surprised if, let's take a look at our company, if we are actually the owner of those overseas ones. Well, there is some, not in France, I guess. Doesn't look like they have the investment specifically in France. or do they have it with the direct ones? So here's the kind of thing that's a little bit frustrating. Our company owns those levels in France. So our company is kneecapping us here in terms of the French investment. So maybe we actually don't want to have French investment anymore. So let's renegotiate the treaty, and let's just say, let's just do this. Because we are bricking ourselves with the construction of those... we can renegotiate this for something better for ourselves sometime down the road. Trade privileges are going to be nice, but let's get rid of our investment rights. We do have investment in this area in terms of having regional HQs, and those will continue to invest. But right now, we're just pulling back from France. We will still, for example, have the French... wow, there's just too many, actually. But if we take a look, we will still have a French regional HQ for some of our things. And those will be able to invest, but we will not be building any more electronics industries overseas, because now we have to like push like level 30 in order to you know, catch up and get back our cohesion from being the world's leading producer. Really, really rough when you have 30 billion GDP and you're supposed to be the lead producer. And if we take a look at everyone else in terms of GDP, you know, we got like this. So that's quite the scrum to try and get ahead of on a good. Alright, so we are about to turn up pretty hard considering we have only 20 arable land in Panama, the absolute minimum you need in order to get mass migrations, but this is going to give a permanent bonus for railway building throughput. I think that what we're going to do is we're going to take the loyalists here, and this is going to be nice for the railways, although it's going to kind of pressure us with that plus 25%, but this is going to really, really increase infrastructure output, and infrastructure output is a driver of how many people can come. So we see this Marathi mass migration, that should be relatively uncapped, and there should be a lot of pops looking to exodus from India, just in general, because those are really high pop places. So we're getting 60k in weekly migration here, which is going to fill us up quite nicely. Yeah, so we're getting a relatively vertical mass migration, and you can tell like the mass migration we roll is basically informing whether or not we're vertical, if they have enough pops to send out, but we have a ton of infrastructure for coming in, and you can see that this is just still continuing to just like just jam up straight in the air. So we're generally speaking hoping that we roll a little bit better on these mass migrations. We tried several times to get Qing to change their law to allow them to migrate in terms of going for a law commitment, but we just generally weren't very successful in that, although I guess they're willing to just try it for free, and so if we could get that just in there for free, fantastic. If we could get Han mass migrations, that would really, really be quite nice. And we are also getting migration, inter-market migration, because we do actually have a market now, right? Now, I don't know, we should have way more migration attraction than these places, so we should be siphoning them off, and so this should be helping us out, but the car is loud outside, and the cohesion is low. The night is dark and full of terrors. Alright, it's finally time. It started off as 100 years in order to get this, but now in just 4 days' time, we will be able to go for our first mandate expenditure. Less than 1 day, that's right. And so we're going to go for this. This is going to increase our equilibrium cohesion by 10, and also give us influential trade center. The influential trade center gives us about 200, a little under 200 Diplo, but the important thing here is now this cohesion is trending towards 30, and if we can push a bunch of other things up, we could even maybe get this across to the 40 line. We have 7 years on our next principle, so it's maybe not looking the best, but as we push up our cohesion, other people will be more likely or happier to join. You will see Peru, Bolivia currently at 160, and it is now trending up instead of just stalling out at 160. Mexico, Peru, Bolivia, and also Venezuela, kind of the big ones we're trying to get in, along with Brazil, looking to have a nice, good, big South America kind of block. Also working on Egypt and the Ottoman Empire as well, but this is maybe a little bit of a Hail Mary. Also a bit of a Hail Mary areas, we are funding lobbies in Great Qing. If we can get Great Qing on board, we can probably have the highest GDP power block. As it stands, we are currently not even ranked lowest in the power blocks. We are ahead of several others. We're ahead of Austria's block. We're ahead of the North German block, Sardinia-Piedmont's block. In terms of both GDP and prestige. In terms of GDP, I think we're behind all the other ones. So we're currently ranked number 6, which is pretty good considering, you know, we have a single province with only 20 arable land here. I don't think I've ever been so happy to see elevators. We, of course, are throttled by the number of construction sectors we can build, so it is absolutely fantastic when we get an ability to build 5 more. That's 20% more construction for us here. So we can get a little bit cheeky here. The Dutch really don't want us to colonize. We're not colonizing anyways. We have no interest in colonizing. The only reason we have colonization at this point is so that we could do these abuses. But we are going to put in non-colonization agreements here. And we are going to decrease the amount that we are going to be paying them in exchange for them giving us Dutch Guyana, which is going to be nice for us. So we will get Dutch Guyana here. Now, we, of course... It said it was accepted. Well, the idea is we were going to trade Dutch Guyana to Brazil in exchange for them giving us a power block embassy for an extended period of time so that we could eventually get Brazil in. But I guess that plan is maybe a little bit out. We're going to try and do the same thing onto France if we can. I do believe we have a French treaty that is relatively in our favor, so renegotiating it should be good for us. And we'll also have them take on our debt again. So we will see if we can add on top of this the state transfer of getting French Guyana, and then see if we can transfer that on over to Brazil for the loud car. Okay, so we get Peru, Bolivia in here, and our cohesion target actually goes up instead of down. We are also pulling back on some of these consumer goods, or we are trying to get the lead producer on some of these goods. 21 is a little bit below what we've been able to achieve, so we might even be able to hit 40 and get into the next tier where we will be less hampered on the mandate generation than we are currently, and also, as this comes up, we will be able to pull other people into the block more easily. The big players that we want to pull in are still not even in the positive. We maybe even be able to do Honduras and Nicaragua here. It's going to be a little bit hard to try and snake these out from under them. Also, France, for whatever reason, we had a thumbs-up agreement. They wouldn't give us Guyana. So I think the dream of pulling in Guyana is maybe dead to some extent, other than Netherlands. We could possibly pull into the block, so we're going to start funding lobbies with them as a kind of like long shot for being able to get into the block. So we hit an important inflection point. We have close to 1,000 in overseas ownership. We have most of our ownership, and if we times this by our GDP, we get a little over 520 million total GDP owned. And if we take a look at Great Britain, and we do the math on this, 368 million times, this number plus this number, we will see that, in fact, this is 515 million. So not only do we hit the 50 million GDP mark, we also pass up the world leader in terms of own GDP. We own more GDP than anyone else in the world, and this is what we got. This is Panama. Alright, so this is a big tech for us. Normally it's a big tech because you have mines. I think we have exactly 1 mine. Oh, we have 5 mines. Not that it really matters because I don't think these employ up anyways, but it's a big tech for us because with this, we should be able to take over the #1 spot on automobiles. We're currently the #4 producer. We're about to double it. Oh, we won't even be #1. We'll just be #3. Yikes. But this is going to double the output of cars. It's going to require a little bit more employment. It's going to take a little bit of time to come on up, but we should be #3 worldwide in car producers here. We are pulling up on some higher values, so we're getting up to 39, so we're approaching the threshold, the next threshold up of 40, where we get better stats, a little bit better on the mandate progress. Right now we're getting -30%. Here we'll only be getting -10%, and we also are coming up on getting to be the #1 world producer of luxury clothing, luxury furniture. You can see we are about to produce another third once we finish this construction, although it takes a while for us to clear our queue. But also, we're going to be pretty up there in terms of prestige regular furniture here, which is going to be quite nice. Incidentally, when you have an exclusive or like one of the prestige goods that only one company can get, this type of thing, this locks you in on being the primary prestige producer or the top producer worldwide, such that you get prestige or what have you. But when we get an additional, like 50% here in Panama, we should become #1. And so with that, we should be able to get 40 cohesion. Just kidding, we get 40 cohesion anyways. And this is with including Uruguay, which we had brought in. We still have some other people we're trying to bring in. Venezuela's getting close. Mexico is somewhat close. Egypt's pretty far, and Ottomans are even further, and Great Qing is just a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. We do have a little bit of investment on that, but that's not going to really happen. I think that arc welding is not insane. It's either arc welding or going planes, so that we could be the #1 producer of planes, but I don't think that that's quite it. Macro, actually, we just touched macro. We left that unresearched or unfinished so that we could do this. It's not really going to do too much. It does give us +1 max company. I guess we could actually use that company and try and see what we can slot in. I don't think we have too many good options, but maybe we just find a bad option for ourselves, and maybe something with a prestige good. Like if there's not a lot of producers of prestige, food industries, then maybe that's actually a good look for us. Alright, so it's completely open for the food. No one else is producing prestige food, so we're just going to go for that right away. We're also using just about every single labor-saving PM here that we can in order to try and make as best use out of our props as possible. We are very, very up on the line, and we are continuing to pull a lot of immigration. Incidentally, it's kind of interesting that we would have like an equilibrium threshold of an absolutely enormous amount on the literacy, because we do have the decree for literacy coming in here. We have currently promote social mobility, or we just took it off for the 25% education access, and we also have an additional 62 here. But because we're getting so many immigrants, every time we get a massive spike of immigrants, it pulls down the literacy. So that's something that's interesting about being so low pop with so much immigration. So with the additional cohesion we get from external trade level 3, we are able to pull the Netherlands in, which is hurting our, well, now we have a bunch of guys with whom we have bad relations that we have to somehow improve the relations on in order to not be suffering one of these malices. But also these guys have basically zero economic dependence on us, so that is a little bit uncomfortable, but we might just have to play whack-a-mole, building in all of the Netherlands subjects territories in order to drive this. This is this guy here, you can see, but we are hoping that our ownership stuff just picks these up naturally. We do have stuff like cattle industry. I guess Guatemala picked up that one, but we do have investment in some things, and so we're hoping that we are able to generate a dependence economically. And also, we now have adjacencies with both Oldenburg and Belgium, so we can go for them as well as the power block continues to grow here. We have the Netherlands over here, and we also have the Netherlands over here. Just an additional adjacency to Brazil, but we're really trying to get Venezuela, Brazil, and Mexico, because I think that this is going to be like nice and themey, and so that's currently what we're looking towards, and we are a little bit shy on some of these. Just to kind of review what's going on, we have 851 urban centers. They are not very well employed, although over a million employees is, I guess, not very well employed. We have 139 trade centers, 2,500 or over 2,500 ownership buildings, not including the some 5,000 ownership buildings that are going to be belonging to companies somewhere in there. We have 100, oh, that's another company. Wow, is it really just 6,000 or 7,000? And then we have things that are around 50 stacks looking to subsidize these and or push these for primarily being able to keep generating the goods leader bonuses for the cohesion here. Incidentally, we are getting a little bit of bonus because Netherlands was the leading producer of man o' wars, so it just has to be inside the block. It doesn't have to be us necessarily. And then just a bunch of one stack of things, you know, a 5 stack that's not employed up. Really, the subsidies are pulling everyone into the buildings that we are trying to get the prestige goods out of, and that's kind of really what's going on here. We are pushing economies of scale on the electricity, almost done, but even still, electricity is still a bit expensive, so we'll throw some back into the back of the queue here. We are running out of time. We have 4 years left to try and get Brazil and Mexico into the block, and it is not working very well. So I think that we might have to take like a little bit of a risk and go for allowing them to buy our buildings, because this is basically the last agreement that we can give out, which I think would increase our leverage on them. But at the same time, if they own a bunch of our stuff, it doesn't increase leverage. I just don't think that they have much of our stuff that they can buy, is the thing. At least not in our... they can't buy it from us, but they can buy it in Japan, I think, is the only thing to consider here. But the clothing is also the only one that we are a little bit concerned about, because we don't have a clothing industry. If they have a monopoly on that, they can scoop it from our guys, as far as I can tell or understand from this, so this would not be ideal. But I guess what we could do is we could just take this off auto expand. It's only 3 levels, and we could take a little bit of an experiment here and just offer them up an ability to invest inside of our nation. I think that what we'll do is we have some other agreement already with Mexico, something like this, and so we'll just renegotiate this and add investment rights on top of this in case we want to try and get something from them. I guess taking trade privileges from them might be okay here. And so we're hoping that this increases the equilibrium towards which their leverage is trending. And so this will help us to get them in here. I think I just saw them tick up, so I think it is going to be helping. If we take a look, we could kind of get a bit of a better idea here. Oh no, we're moving in the other direction. We're moving in the wrong direction. We're shrinking. Well, it's for 5 years, so... and they're generating more, or they're raking back more for themselves, so I think we moved in the wrong direction on that one, unfortunately. Maybe we could still get Mexico, though. Alright, so we can yoink Ecuador from underneath France, which is going to be quite nice. Or it looks like maybe they just left France's thing, but they will be added. So almost have all of South America here, just have a couple little stragglers, and so we will go about making sure that we have all the agreements that we need or can have on these guys. I think this guy will be relatively easy because he's relatively small. We already have this amount of leverage, and I don't think we have a power block embassy, so we'll make a trade for going for that. But Brazil is going to be a little bit of a tough cookie. Mexico's looking a little bit better, but we only have like 2 years left, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to swing it. We are going to have soon another power block principle, but I'm not sure if the investment one that we can get generates additional leverage. Maybe if we were a little bit faster on the power block stuff, we would have been able to get just a little bit more. We are also massaging Belgium and trying to get in on Belgium, Oldenburg, and Hamburg up here, but I'm not so sure we're going to be able to get those. Alright, we get in luck. It is the first one on foreign investment that generates the additional leverage, and I think this is going to be the last mandate we get, and so we should be able to get quite a bit of leverage on everyone who is remaining, because we own a big chunk of Mexico's GDP. We own 18%, and so the fact that we generate additional leverage off of this should mean that this is ticking quite aggressively. We can see it is resulting in 181, so we're trending towards that, and we are also expanding the furniture manufactories. We are really, really close to getting a couple more leading goods bumps, and they're both in furniture. If we take a look here, we can see we're number 2 producer worldwide on luxury furniture, and it is by a very small-ish, well, it's kind of a big margin, it's by 1K, and so we would need to increase this by like around 10-ish, and then here, we are about to break into number 3 here, and can push pretty aggressively, and so we're going to be building like nothing but furniture for the foreseeable future, and then we should be able to hit this into this 60 block zone, which incidentally maybe lets us get one additional mandate, but probably not. This is probably it for the rest of the game. Oh, so painful. Mexico makes a block. Not like this. That's not what we wanted. It's not what we wanted at all. I didn't really think the groceries companies through enough, because in my head I was like, oh, we'll control the prestige groceries, so we'll be the biggest producer, but the stuff we built overseas is the biggest producer, so that makes Russia the biggest producer, despite us owning the company. So that's a little bit sad. I think that Brazil is maybe out of reach now. They only have 100 a generation. Paraguay is maybe doable, and the two, here, we'll just give them military assistance and guarantee independence for free. The two Germans up here, I think, are also achievable in terms of what we can get by the end date here. We're at 194 and 194 here, and so not exactly what we wanted in terms of having a nice big South America and Central America, but also we started with this and we did 0 conquest, so I still think it's very interesting how we've been able to grab a whole lot of stuff, but we'll get ourselves across the finish line here. I think this is the best we're going to be able to do in terms of what we have expanded here. We do have a couple of overseas ones, like we do have this Netherlands/Germany. We also got Banjar in the mix, in addition to these, colonies of the Netherlands. We have Japan in here. Of course, that one you may not want to count because we got it through a reverse way, just for free, getting a subject, and that is kind of where we managed to land off. I think that us improving Mexico's GDP is what pushed them over to be a GP, because we started to add more eco for them to try and get the foreign investment to push them over 200. So it is a bit unfortunate that they became a GP here. If we had more time, we could and would have gone for Austria. They became a minor power. I'm not even sure exactly when, but they would have been relatively easy to pull in. We probably should have gone for the Papal States at some point. We were maybe a little bit too concerned with going after Ottoman Empire in Egypt, but that was probably a mistake. Except Egypt, we did have the treaty port on, which does help out for going after this. But let's take a look at some of the other stuff that we have going on. Just in Panama here, we have mainly just the industries. Well, we have mainly just ownership, and that is where the lion's share of our pops are. If we were to look at, kind of by profession, what we have going on is that we have, 5.5 million clerks, 3 million shopkeepers, 2.6 million laborers. We have less laborers than we have clerks because we have so many ownership buildings. We have 1.3 million capitalists. We have half as many capitalists as we have laborers, which is kind of an insane figure. We have a lot of clergymen because we do have a lot of ownership buildings, and we do have engineers and the like because we're using mainly labor-saving PMs on the industries that we do have here in Panama. Just kind of pushed out on the furniture. I suppose we could kind of show off where we ended up, but we were pushing economies of scale. We were hoping to get to it, but in terms of our prestige from being leading goods, which is what we've been fighting for over the kind of recent times, we were #1 in everything, except for we didn't manage to push luxury furniture as much as we would have liked. Luxury furniture kind of eluded our grasp, as several other are actually. Does it just not count? Okay, well, we were on top of luxury furniture. It just doesn't give us prestige. Or it's part of the prestige of this? I'm not exactly sure how that shakes out, but okay. That was what was going on there. In terms of our graphs, we have, basically 0 GDP and then a really fast come up here as we started to let the population in. If we wanted to stay low GDP, we could have closed the borders, but you can see here, just absolutely magnificent. That's more than a 45-degree angle on the pop map from a 100-year timeline with a 0 conquest. We took 0 states. None of these step ladders are taking states. They're just like, when we got got a really big migration from a really big pop group. And so this is pretty good for us. Also, a ton of loyalist events you get locally to a single state, which makes it really easy to just put like maintain max loyalists, since every event that we have is just affecting Panama because it's the only eligible state for a lot of these, because they do require incorporated states. So we did manage to have basically perfect on this. Here's our kind of laws at the end. We weren't really paying the closest attention to getting the very best laws. I guess in theory we could have gone old age pension, but I think maybe we like the workforce ratio a little bit more considering what was going on, and we were trying to fight for goods leader. We could have, I think we just, censorship was just for us to get the one little additional authority pip. Taking a look at the companies here as well, we do have, let's actually just look globally as which companies were the very strongest. I think that we're going to have 5 out of the top, game didn't like us clicking that button. We're going to have at least 5 out of the top 10 here. We do have, out of the top 5, we have 4 of them. The Metalworks company, which was our first company, and then the furniture company, not surprising, doing pretty good, especially because we were pushing it. Really interesting to see that the automotive industry is going to be in 4th, and then 5th for us is going to be the coal company, which we put in. We barely have any coal ourselves, but that was just building all overseas. And then we do have quite a ways before we have our next one, so I guess we don't have 5 quite yet in terms of being in the top 10, but we do have the electrical company, which, who could forget, has a bunch of ownership in, of course, France, which was annoying. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of which are the biggest companies. Just kind of taking a look through them, we do have 2 million in profit coming in, 127k in profit for the Panama Canal company. I think in retrospect we could have played it a little bit differently, looking to give I don't know exactly how we make the second one prosperous. Actually, the Suez Canal was fine being prosperous. 1.3 million income on this, which was, I think, the number 2 company in the game. We do have the Suez Canal company. We had enough to get this. Really nice to just be getting 100k additional income kind of this entire time. Although eventually, once we were able to tax the upper strata through proportional and graduated taxation, money became super, super free. We were high paying people and low taxing people and like not having any issues. And so this is how things were rolling out. And then of course, this was just a mistake because it didn't give us the prestige bonus like we wanted it to be able to push this and keep this over 60, maybe get the next level of foreign investment, although it would not have ended up mattering. I don't think the next level of foreign investment would have helped us out very much. I think it's just okay, minus cost for nationalization. It's really just the first one that's relevant to kind of our needs. I think if we had a little bit more time, we could have really gotten a lot done with Brazil and Austria and this type of thing, because what we were going to do next is, well, we were going to do this for a little bit of influence, but then we could have pushed planes or something like this and became leading goods producer in planes and or tanks, and maybe look to have like 60 to 70 cohesion, at which point we could pull in Brazil, maybe Austria, something like this. But of course, very, very limited with the 0 wars and also only having 1 state. There were opportunities to acquire more land, but we forewent them. We didn't do any colonization, so this is kind of all we had, and this is what we managed to do. Kind of a little bit of an interesting run, going through all the different mechanisms that we could use to try and get as much advantage as possible out of here. I suppose the one thing that's probably the most amusing is we have over 3 billion in the investment pool. It never ever is going to get used at any point in time. We have nowhere near as much construction. I think in retrospect we should have been pushing construction in Amami a lot more aggressively, because there were pops there. There just weren't any peasants there, and so we should have just like absolutely sent this to the moon, and we should have been maybe a little bit more aggressive about treaty ports. If we were able to take treaty ports on our own via war, this would have been so much easier. We would have had so much more construction. We would have had so much more military. We would have had so much more going on. If we could subjugate but not take land, it also would have been way easier. But with the constraints, definitely providing interesting challenges for going for what we wanted to do. Anyways, if you wanted to, or sorry, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You know, do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a good one.